உறவுகளே, இப்பொழுது நாங்கள் ஒரு கேவ்ஸ் ஒன்றுக்கு வந்திருக்கிறோம். on the way back to Sydney, a beautiful place. ட்ரிக் மாறுதில்ல, நில்லுங்கோ. அப்படியா? ஆ இல்லை இல்லை, இது ஆடு செய்தவங்க இல்லை போட்டிருக்கு. யார் செய்தாங்க?
ஒரு பேஷனாக இருக்கு.
உண்மையான கேவ்ஸ் வந்து உள்ளுக்கு இருக்கு.
இல்லை இந்த மாதிரி அங்கே அங்கே போனான்றப்போ அதுக்கு சரியான கூலாக இருக்குமே. என்ன வெள்ளக்காரன் வந்து
கண்டுபிடிச்சிருக்காங்க. நிலத்துக்கு கிடைக்கிறது கண்டுபிடிக்கணும் முதல்ல.
அது அந்த கால டெக்னாலஜியில் கண்டுபிடிச்சிருக்கான்டாப்பா. சரி நாங்கள் சும்மா அவங்கள சொல்கிறாங்க.
ரைட்.
எனக்கு இந்தியத்தை கிறிஸ்டின் நான் நியூஸ் இந்த அங்காடி பக்கம் போனாடா இருந்தாரு. அங்கே எங்களோட இந்தியன் அந்த பக்கத்தில் வேலைக்கு போன அமைச்சேன்னா அவங்க கண்டுபிடிக்கிற இடம்டாப்பா. சில இடங்கள் என்னென்ன கண்டுபிடிக்காங்க அந்த டெக்னாலஜியை பார்த்து மடையாள டெக்னாலஜியை பார்த்து செல்வி எடுக்கிறேன். ஆஹாரம் கடப்ப போறேன்.
அண்ணா நீங்க முந்தி போனீங்களா? நாங்க போட்டோம் முன்னுக்கு.
நீங்க போங்க.
ஓகே. நான்
We are breathing the sound of these. We have coexisted with evolving flora and fauna. We have continued to practice our traditions and tell our stories. This is a significant place for us, as this is where we held our ceremonies, our man's business, our initiations, our medicine. Go on, welcome.
The caves tell many stories. The limestone tells us about an ocean reef that was here 400 million years ago. And then water dissolved the limestone, forming the cavities that we now know as the Wellington Caves. These caves open to the surface, and this allowed soil, plant matter, and even animals to fall in. So every fossil, every coral grain,
ഇത് റിയൽ ആയിട്ട് എടുത്തിട്ടുള്ളതാണ് തന്നെ
tells us a story about the past.
Rainbow serpent. Serpent. ഇത് animal in the sound.
Two of me, Cathedral Cave. First thing we'll get started with is these helmets. So I've got two sizes. Most of us here will be the orange size for big heads. Hold down the green button in the back to adjust helmets. Nice.
ரெடி உங்களுக்கு நல்லா போய் பார்க்க போகிறோம். Very good.
After the cave. And so first off, as I've mentioned, no food or drink down the cave. You can bring water if you'd like to. There's no other food or drink down there. There's also oils in your fingers that can ruin and discolour the rock. So don't lean on any of the walls, don't touch any of the rock, really just don't touch anything in the cave. The only thing you can touch though, and please you're stepping, hold onto that handrail when you're up and down the stairs. Get a bit breathless at times. Right, everyone's got their shoes on. 3 separate levels to the cave. So we're going to go each level at a time. At those levels there is a telephone box and a first. Then if you'd like to leave the tour early for whatever reason, it's perfectly fine. Just let me know. I'll be able to bring someone and come into the cave and escort. Any questions for anyone? That skeleton, I think someone asked that before as well. No, not really. We have found skeletons of that real big wombat in our caves here. If you get it, it's a karst landscape, so sort of limestone outcrop. Limestone can be dissolved by water, so therefore, we ever see the rocks like this, the karst, there's a good chance you will find caves. So on the reserve here, it's only a small area, we know about 42 individual caves on the hillside here. And so it's kind of like honeycomb beneath the surface. Caves here, they're fantastic because they've been open up for millions of years, and over that time, things will fall down and collect inside the caves. You're welcome. And what we're best known for here is all the fossils we find. Right, so I'll get in more detail about the fossils, but if you want to start following me up.
Limestone?
Generally white color, but
இல்லை இது all the time faded இருக்கும் வட்டினா உள்ளக்கு பாருங்க ஆக்கள் பார்த்துட்டு திரும்ப வந்தோன்னு நினைக்கணும். கேஸ் பைப் கேவ் எல்லாம் லைம்ஸ்டோன் இருக்கு.
பெருசுகள் பொசல் எதுவும் எடுத்திருப்பாங்க நினைக்கிறேன்.
These are mine shafts, yes. At the bottom of this, there's the natural open to that cave right behind us over here. It's called Mitchell Cave. It is a very significant and important cave, not just for us here at Wellington, but also for Australia. This is the first place in this country where any sort of large fossils were found. We call it the birthplace of paleontology in Australia. So these first fossils found about 200 years ago, 1830. And there's a guy named George Rankin who just went down into the hole here. He tied a rope onto the rock up near the surface, so abseiling down into the deep, into the dark. They're about halfway down though. Apparently George wasn't injured. And these fossils are from our megafauna. So our megafauna, Australian megafauna, they're a lot like Australian animals today, but it's very, very big. They were alive during the Pleistocene or the Ice Age, up to a couple of million years old, years ago. So our megafauna, they include our diprotodon. You may have seen the big statue of the wombat out the front. You guys saw that, or his big skeleton. Diprotodontatum, 2 meters at the shoulder, weighs about 3 tons. Largest marsupial that is in the cave as well. They did discover, in case you can spot over here, this big lizard, Megalania, the largest
It's called
during the
gimbal.
Pleistocene. One more interesting one they found here, nothing like today, is something known as Thylacoleo carnifex. It's better known as the marsupial lion. It's the largest carnivorous marsupial that has ever existed. What's really cool about Thylacoleo, it wasn't too big, but it had to be very ferocious. It had a lot of big prey to take down, kind of like a cat. Scientists believe it would have climbed up into the trees and then dropped down on any unsuspecting prey. It's close to the stories of the drop bear. No? Drop bear. Yeah, a little carnivorous koala that might drop down on you. Eat your face off. That's kind of story. Stairs, the first set are quite steep, so we'll get onto a flat surface at the bottom before having a chat. Hold on to handrail, keep to the left-hand side while we're going down. You'll see some witches' hats and some bunting on the right, so we're just going to stick to the left coming down. And watch your head on the way in too. They kind of know that with limestone you get caves. A lot of these guys are pretty English, and they didn't know all about limestone. The first people down here are probably the Aboriginal people here, the Wiradjuri people, but they wouldn't usually.
Wow. Thank you.
So while on the stairs, please have your phones away. Get to a flat surface before chat at the bottom. Even up here, there's some really nice crystal.
Yeah. So it takes millions of years to form this one. That
Yeah, old. Maybe not millions, but definitely tens of thousands of these. Yeah.
Oh.
So we'll continue down once again, left hand side, get to the flat bottom. Down. Guys, just phones away, please. You've all got your phones out. Put them in your pockets at the moment. We'll get to the flat surface and we can take some pictures.
Whoa. Wow. Look at this.
Some have way back in the past, but they are solid rock. They are fully connected to the wall here. So, yeah, we've been doing tours here since the 1880s. Nothing's fallen like that since, so it's not going to fall today. There was an earthquake down in Orange.
How is these cavities formed? By erosion or may have been solid and then the water goes through and washed out?
Yeah, now exactly. We've got to get to that in a moment. We'll get everyone down here and I'll explain the cave a bit further. I like your interest. It's good. Yeah, all right. Down here and look around. Interesting in the corner. Get to the bottom. A limestone. All the rock on the surface, all the rock you see around us right now, that's all limestone. So limestone is a sedimentary rock. This stuff was formed about 400 million years ago. Back when this part of Australia was a shallow reef, coral reef. So the rock is basically built up of all these coral skeletons and sand and shells that dissolved and compacted in a layer of millions of years and then formed the rock. The cave, of course, carved out by water. Unlike a lot of other caves in the world, instead of water coming down to carve out the rock, this cave is formed by water coming up. The water table slowly risen up and carved out all these really big, massive cavities. So at one point, the entire cave would have been filled with water. And that's why you get these sort of really smooth textures on the walls here. You start the water will drain down, and then you can start forming all our crystal. So calcite crystal is what we form in limestone caves. It's a lovely example, lovely heads right here. So it has been very dry around here lately, so sometimes we do get a couple of good drops on here, but it's been very slow at the moment. Stalactites and stalagmites, who knows the difference? No? Best way to remember? This one. And they are formed by that water dropping down. It seeps through the roof of the cave, picks up all the calcium minerals in the rock. It'll deposit some minerals at the tip. And their growth is, the stalactite here is going to grow about a single centimetre. So this one is a couple metres tall, so probably good tens of thousands of years old. The little ones up over here, just those tips, probably good 1,000 years old. And then back up the stairs, okay, you've got these really big, massive structures here, possibly with hundreds of thousands of years old. So it's a very old cave, this one. In terms of our more recent history here, so the first people to explore this cave were probably indigenous people here, the Wiradjuri people. So they had stories of evil spirits that lived in the caves. So they want to come down. The first Europeans started exploring this cave in the 1820s. And at that time, they didn't really know how to look after the cave, so unfortunately they did quite a bit of damage. If you look around the walls around here, you will see lots of graffiti. A lot of names have been carved into the wall. A lot of it has been done with ash from their candles. You'll see a lot of that all around the cave, unfortunately. So they would have come down here in the dark with their candles, held the candle right against the rock, rather than next to the ash and the soot. Candles did also damage the cave, create a lot of smoke down here, which also kind of deposited on the walls. These sort of dark bits here was just the smoke. The worst things these early guys did, though, they take little souvenirs, which is unfortunate. But if you look back up the stairs, got that real big stalactite right in the middle, and it does have that flat bottom right there. And that is because someone has chiseled off that tip and taken it home. Yeah, it's annoying because we can't see it today, but we do try and go after the cave better these days. It was the 1880s when we first started doing tours. We hired our first caretaker and tour guide. His name was James Sibold, and we know that because he wrote it everywhere. In terms of caretaker, he wasn't very good. If you have a look up here, there's a little JS right there. We know that's him. And if you've got good eyes behind us here, just where my shadow is, you'll see a J Sibold right there too. So in terms of the caretaker, this guy wasn't the best. But we do keep all this graffiti around because it's kind of part of our history that we have here at Wellington. Stable environments, so things do preserve very well.
The colour keep on changing over there, or the white one, the crystal there?
What is it?
That crystal, the
Shadow,
light,
it look like a shadow.
it will change the colour some stage?
The colour? Not really, no. Most of this stuff will stay that nice white colour.
Yeah.
And it might start going darker once you got like stuff depositing on it. There is some crystal where you can get like different like reds and whites and blues, depending on if there's any sort of mineral.
நல்ல அருமையான ஒரு கேவ்ஸ். இது வந்து ஒரேஞ்சிலிருந்து ஒரு ஒரேஞ்ச் என்ற இடத்துலேருந்து ஒரு 45 minutes டிரைவ் வரணும். வெல்லிங்டன் கேவ்ஸ்ன்ற இடம் அங்கே நிற்கிறோம். அருமையான ஒரு கேவ்.
Facing that way.
ஓம் சிவாய நம.
சிவலிங்கம் மாதிரி இருக்கு.
சிவலிங்கம் தான்.
இதில் போட்டு விடுவாங்க.
சிவலிங்க பெருமான் தான்.
Big impressive formation.
ஜலபாருங்க சிவலிங்கம்.
It's called the altar. Measures about 15 meters to the ceiling, 38 meters circumference at the base. When this was first discovered, it was believed to be the largest stalagmite in the world. It's not though, for a couple of reasons. It is such a roost that technically this is now a column. There have been large ones discovered more recently, but then also this is formed a very different way. So years ago we date it. There would have been a large cave-in that happened right in the middle of the room. That cave-in created a large pile of limestone boulders right here, and then over that million years, you've got this crystal flowstone that's then grown around those boulders, giving us the altar. That's more exciting. In the middle, two shoulders, two little arms right here as well, maybe. But when people first came down here, they called this the altar. They called this all Cathedral Cave. So, of course, they had church services down here. From the mid-1800s all the way up until 1961, there were weekly church services in seating, all lined up on the ground here. A priest would have walked up what are known as limestone dams, right here. We walked up those using the steps, climbed up those, stepped over the crystal there. We stood behind what we call the pulpit, right up there. So address the entire mass from there. Behind him, a nice sort of organ formation. They have cut those crystals off at the top just to fit a whole bunch of candles right here, which would have looked very nice, but you can kind of see the damage that has caused. Of course, as you can hear, fantastic acoustics down here. Any sort of hymns or songs would have sounded very amazing because of the echo down here in the cave. So 61, that was last weekly service, but we do kind of still use space as a bit of a community hall in a way. So our last wedding we had down here was only back in 2018. We'd also used to do carols in the caves around Christmas time and some larger orchestra events and ceremonies. Unfortunately, a couple of years ago, 2021 and 2022, there were some pretty bad floods in this region. A lot of the cave was damaged in a way. We haven't done any large events since, but we are looking to bring more of those back. I think we do have a wedding planned for later on.
You got any border here or no?
Sorry?
Is it flood time is a border?
Yeah, so there was a lot of...
You didn't damage any of this?
Not really, no, because like every couple of decades there'll be a flood, and it is a natural part of the cave. So it won't damage the actual cave itself. It will damage all the stuff we've put in there, like all our stairs and safety. The water coming from the top might dissolve little bits, but the stuff... Yeah, below here, when we get down to the bottom, I'll show you where the water actually got to. And we still have some water in the cave. It's very low in and still find some really cool stuff. And just over here is their little dig site. So on down to the cave. Under the plywood here, there's a pit that goes down a bit over 6 meters into the ground. And they've dated the rock at the bottom of that to about 90,000 years old. And just in this little bit alone, they find so many fossils, about over 90 individual sort of species. They come around every year. They only left like 2 days ago, so you just missed them. But they find a whole bunch of cool stuff there. Mostly smaller things like little native rodents, bandicoots, bilbies, smaller marsupials. And they find plenty of kangaroos as well. And they believe they find on the kangaroo legs a proper fracture in their leg. So they would have fallen into the cave at one point, so they believe there would have been a hole right at the top of the altar. The kangaroos would be jumping around the surface, not look where they're going, and fall into the cave, can't get back out, turn into a fossil. Like, they didn't find diprotodon, they found something called Palacestes, which is described as a giant sort of marsupial ground sloth. Something that's really, really filled with fossils. Really cool.
So how they find the location? So
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so they've chosen this, but they do some ground penetrating radar. If you dig anywhere in the cave, you will find fossils.
yeah.
It's the best here for a couple of reasons. Because it is at the edge of the cave, animals were to fall down. They usually crawl to the edge. And also because of owls. There may have been an owl, would have been roosting up here. The owl goes out at night, eats a whole bunch of small little animals that come back into the cave. They can't eat the bones really, so they're actually bond back up, all those bones, they regurgitate them, and that just drops into the bottom of the cave. And now at the bottom. So between those two levels, there's been some sort of change in the environment around Wellington.
So they could 10 meters and decided it's...
More detail about that, but different sort of fossils, yeah. In terms of rocks itself, so I want you to get a slide up here. What's really cool about this cave, you look at the wall, darker in colour. On the other side of the room, it's all very different. That's all called massive limestone, a lot lighter in colour, one big massive piece. Back the way we came up on the roof here, that very distinct fault line between those two forms of rock. And that starts all the way down here, that line, and goes all the way throughout the cave, this part of the cave. So it wasn't just water carving out the cave, it was these two formations of rocks pushing against one another, and eventually kind of building up pressure and collapsing open, forming the big cavity. So, while we're coming around this side, there's a couple of things I like to point out. This entire side of the altar is all lovely active crystal. When it does rain a lot, there is still a little bit of water flowing down this. That's why you get that nice white crystally sparkle. And then on our other side behind us, you will see what looks like brickwork. That is not brick soap, it's those 400 million year old layers in the limestone rock. Wow. All those layers. There's a really good example of your thing right here, called an anticline formation.
So how the folding came?
The folding is just the pressure that's built up in the earth and kind of push this part up, this entire part's jolted up. It's cool. There would have been a similar, so you've got these layers here which mirror what's on the other side here. There would have been a similar formation here called a syncline, makes sort of V shape. So much pressure is built up though, that entire part of the cave has collapsed in. That's an old cave-in. I mentioned 1961, the last weekly church service I had in the cave. If you have a good eye and have a look up here, where my light is, there's a small little bump just up there. That is the opened Bible, the book. But what's really cool, that's fully turned into crystal. It is a crystallized, solid crystal book. Way up on the roof, right above the pulpit, there's a very active formation right up there. That's dropping those calcium-rich waters onto the Bible, and the pages have just soaked up all those minerals, turned into crystal.
Oh, so inside there's a Bible.
Yeah, it's all just on top there. It's still laying on top. Over a couple more million years, eventually all the crystal kind of start growing over it, and there'll be a Bible inside the stalagmite. Yeah, it's a fossil in a way, yeah. Right, so just this next section going down to the third level. These stairs are the oldest in the cave. They're very, very uneven. Hold on to the handrail. Watch where you're stepping. They're very uneven. You guys down here. Up on the roof, there is another name way up there.
Oh, yeah.
That's James Sibold again, the first caretaker. He's managed to go all the way up there and write his name
That one, yeah.
on the roof.
Maybe he's standing on top.
Yeah, climbed around the altar, you got basically steps there. Stood on top of the big stalagmite there and just held his candle up against the roof. Before he owned the cave, he just had to write his name everywhere. So, just this next section, it's called headache on the ground. Otherwise you'll hit your head. So you just want to wait for me on the other side here, just in the light. Make sure everyone gets down the stairs, all right?
He's okay.
Yeah, he's okay. Just, duck down till you pass the line. So this is the lowest level of the cave. Surface, so do remember to climb back up 42 metres, that's a fun bit. A bit further down this way, in the dark there, we're going to see our cave water. So there is still water in the cave, it's all at water table level. When there's a whole bunch of flooding outside, that water table does rise, and during droughts, that water table does come down. During those last floods I mentioned, we've marked it. The water got all the way up to here. Well above head height. This entire part of the cave was closed off for about a year, because that water was just up too high. But eventually it did start coming back down. Any questions for me at the moment?
So how do you...
At this section, two things like we see. We're just going to split off into two groups. So a bit further down this way, there's our cave water. We call it the well. It's real low at the moment, but it's nice to see a couple of little drippy formations above it. I'm going to have half you guys go down that way, have a look. The other half, I'm going to show you some fossils in the wall here. 400 million year old fossils embedded in the rock wall. Once you've seen those, we'll have to stop over and have a look at each. So you guys want to start heading down that way, have a look around, and don't touch any of the rocks around you. A couple more can go through. This stuff is probably the least stable in the cave. We have had surveys come in and double check this. This is still evidence of a previous cave that happened 1,000 years ago.
Wow.
All those big red iron rich sort of components that seep into the cave and cement everything. But because of that cave, this rock here has broken apart. So if you guys come close to the rock here, you'll be able to have a good eye or a good look at the fossils. So 400 million years ago, shallow reef here, like the Great Barrier Reef, rock, ridiculous. Shadows. So we'll conquer that is a coral. 400-million-year-old coral right there. This artificial texture right here.
What's the water?
See here.
There's some water.
Seashells. Yeah, very nice things to see. And we're a couple hundred kilometers away from the ocean.
ते पानी कितना वो पानी झलकता है जो पानी झलकता है
Basically, what the rock is there. Look at the rock is there.
त्याच्यामध्ये पाणी पडतं and the water goes down.
Very detailed shells here. Yeah, good idea. New South Wales. So apparently at this time there's currently volcanoes around this area, raised up the bush to cool out the so there's this big delta of limestone runs across eastern Australia. That little Alright, so you guys saw the well, come up over here, show you some fossils. Water? That's actually crystal that falls on the surface. So you could get rid of those, but more will start growing afterwards. Alright, so from a coral reef ecosystem. So if you get up nice and close, have a good look at the rock, you'll be able to see coral right there. And over here as well, this bumpy stuff right here, another coral. You'll see here, seashells.
Oh, yes.
Little seashell here and here. There's a nice one just up here as well. So if you have a good look at the rock, have a good close look, you'll find just fossils everywhere in the rock here. In any sort of limestone, you are going to find these fossils.
Oh, okay, here.
If you like, there's some nice ones on the rock over here as well. Those little white streaks, those are all little shell fragments in the rock. There's some very nice ones over here as well. Really detailed little shells.
So because of the water, they are now kind of.
These have kind of like turned into rock now.
Yeah.
So it's all from that right there. They're called sea lilies, and these small little circles, there's one there too. They're part of those little sea lily stems. We've got some coral right here too. So if you look at any limestone or any rock in this cave, pushed down. It's very clear, right? Crystal clear, and nice blue colour too. Now currently it's quite low, unfortunately, so you can't really see it too well. It's clear and blue all through the limestone again. The water has to seep through the rock, and that basically acts as a filter, so that's why it's so clear. Then it picks up all the calcium minerals, that's why they're very nice blue colour. There was some stuff kind of floating on top. That is actually crystal that grows on top of the water. We call those calcite rafts, and eventually those get heavy enough to sink to the bottom. So at the bottom of the well, there's a big chunk of crystal down there. If you were having a look over there, to the left of the well, there is a small little dark opening, a small little cave there.
Yep.
We used to do tours down there. It's called the Northern Passage. It goes off for another 20-25 metres into the rock. Watch your head right here, it is quite low. So, yeah, it's a dead end, so just go right up there.
Wow.
Yeah. Most of these lights here put in the 90s, I believe.
And the വേമുടക്കി എടുത്തിട്ടാണ്
Okay, so it's a little dead end here. We call this section Thunder Cave. Big open space. It is also a bit more humid up here. You might realise there's some water in the world that evaporates up here. That's nowhere to go. Because we're around a long time, just a couple of things I'll point out here. Firstly, if you have a look at the roof, there are these little divots up here. And these are formed by that water kind of pushing up against the roof, forming these what are known as bell holes. But these dirty ones, those are old bat nests. There did used to be a big colony of microbats that lived in this cave, and they did live up here. It's called nursery for them. Unfortunately, we've been doing tours for a very long time. We have scared away all those bats, and they've flown off the other caves in the area. So there's still plenty of microbats around. And then behind me, right here, there is this lovely, active crystal waterfall right here. So very nice and shiny. Once again, it's all called flowstone. It's that calcium-rich water kind of flowing down, leaving a small snail trail of crystal. It's very cool to see. Right, and while we're up here, one more thing I like to do. Count 1, 2, 3. We've got to hit our chests. Just once at the same time, but importantly, you've got to keep quiet afterwards. Or listen. Alright, so fists up. Big breath. 1, 2, 3. Big one. You guys want to do that again? Yeah. Yes, could do better. Alright, big breath. 1, 2, 3.
You did the one.
Big noise. Bigger? No, we all do it together. One person does it well. Yeah. That's why they call it Thunder Cave. Thunder sound. Alright, so, first thing on the tour. We're going to start heading down the stairs here. I'll meet you at the bottom here. We'll start heading back out. Okay.
On the way they slowly form.
Yeah, it'll leave like a little trail of water, and then once the water kind of dries, it leaves the calcium, which then turns into crystal.
This is what is it? Crystal or calcium? The white color.
Both of them. It's calcite crystal. So it's crystal made from calcium. Yeah. Take time right now, watch your head. Of course, it's very low, that little rock there. Yeah, so we've got cords and stuff going towards those. There's some dowel rods and stuff in there. And then just above your head here, these are the old candlestick holders as well. So to keep all those around, a lot of it is heritage listed, actually. I've gone back good hundreds of years.
So this was, you are monitoring any movements here or no? What's happening?
Movements?
Oh, yeah.
Not really, no. So there was a bit of an earthquake in Orange, I mean. Feel free to get some last photos of the altar, otherwise we'll continue up to the surface.
Shivaya Namah, Shivaya Namah. Om Shivaya Namah.
Of Wellington? You're travelling to Dubbo? Are you guys going towards Dubbo?
No, we came from
Canberra. Oh, Canberra Orange, yeah, so there's a whole bunch.
Hey, Bobby.
Last thing we'll do, just head back down the path here with your helmet. Just pop those in the black tub down there. But otherwise, hope you really all enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Cheers, thank you.
Mine shaft and
Mine shaft.
இது natural. I mean, இதை பார்த்து தான் அதில் மைண்ட் ஷாப்ட்
கண்டிருக்கிறேன்.
அவங்க வச்சு கும்பிட்டு கொண்டு இருப்பாங்க.
Oh, yeah. Mitchell Cave. The water. King and Thomas Mitchell, the colonial surveyor, excavated the first known fossils of Australian megafauna. Red soil in this.
எனக்கே தெரியுமாடாப்பா 2-3 இருக்குடாப்பா எங்கே நான் சொல்லக்கூடாது எனக்கு அந்த அவன்
What is it?
it's old mine. Yeah. What the purpose of the mining here?
So your phosphates just fossilized back guano,
Okay.
and it was dug out at the start of World War One, so 1914.
So they're looking for
The phosphate, basically.
Yeah, okay.
So
Phosphate,
because that can be used as gunpowder
yeah.
and
Phosphate.
fertilizer as well.
So this that shaft is a natural shaft. Oh,
That one there is natural,
yeah.
and
they
then
got the
these
artificial
two
one.
here,
Okay.
these ones are artificial. So when they were, apparently it was really difficult to get fossils out from the natural bit.
Okay, then
So
they get
they
into
dug
this.
these and just kind of pulleyed all the fossils.
How they
up.
find that? Accidentally they find that one, the cave.
Yeah, there was just some guy from Bathurst, George Rankin was his name. And he, just,
Okay. Yeah.
he was just an explorer. He was just looking through the caves, just found all the fossils.
Always you wondering in the old days, not much technology, they find some of the
Yeah,
things,
I mean, for these guys, like they were some of the first Europeans in Australia.
Yeah.
1817, Australia was first settled as a convict settlement,
Yeah.
and then it was only a couple of years later when they started discovering these caves.
Because I work on Mount Isa and everywhere. Sometimes
He's a mining person as well.
Oh yeah.
I never.
I mean, you guys have very technical questions, so I was like,
Yeah.
okay, these guys must have
I
a
thought that
background.
sometimes how they find that at that time no technology, they find some of the mining. Is
So
a
maybe
mind-blowing
some
thing.
Yeah.
guidance from Aboriginal people as well. Then maybe.
Yeah, no, there is a story about how maybe one of the convicts in town escaped and he joined the Aboriginal people here, the Brinjang
yeah,
people,
yeah.
and then they told him about these caves. They may have had some sort of significance with the caves here.
Yeah,
There is known to be some burial sites up on the
yeah, that's why.
reserves.
I know
Yeah.
that because I work in Conakry and that area. That's all the time. Some of the things are mind blowing. That how the people find out something underneath.
Yeah, like you get the archaeology.
Yeah. You know, at that time, that's no technology. You know.
Yeah.
There's not much technology and.
Okay, thanks very much. Thanks for watching. பாருங்க இப்படி ஒரு ஃப்ளைட்டை நடத்த இவ்வளோத்தையும் கண்டுபிடிச்சிக்கிறாங்க. ஒரு டெக்னாலஜியும் இருக்குல்ல அந்த காலத்தில் பெருசாக ஸ்கேனிங் அப்படி இப்படி எல்லாத்தையும் கீழே இருக்கிற அவ்வளோத்தையும் ஒரு கெஸ்ஸிங்கில் கிண்டத்து வாங்கி அவ்வளோத்தையும் கண்டுபிடிச்சிருக்கணும். இட்ஸ் வெரி இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங். சரி உறவுகளை மீண்டும் இன்னொரு பதிவில் சந்திப்போம். அது வரைக்கும் உங்களிடம் அனுபவ வணக்கங்களை கூறி விடைபெற்றுக் கொள்கிறேன். உங்களுக்கு இந்த பதிவு பிடிச்சிருந்தால் லைக் பண்ணுங்கள், ஷேர் பண்ணுங்க, கமெண்ட் பண்ணுங்க. இந்த இடம் பார்க்குறேன்டா வந்து பாருங்க. மெட்டாக்களுடன் பகிர்ந்து கொள்ளுங்கள்.
Yeah, one of the roads
Okay.
says
தேங்க்யூ வெரி மச்.
cracks in it.
நன்றி,
So
வணக்கம்,
instead of
வாழ்க
going through
வளமுடன்.
Katoomba,
ടോയ്ലറ്റ് പോകുന്നില്ല